Good morning. It is 10:30 on a Tuesday morning, and this is Cup of Joe. I am Joey, and it is so good to be on here with all of you today. And I know we're a day late, and as we approached today, yesterday I had a lot going on. There was a lot of excitement because of what happened on Sunday. Sunday we had a guest speaker come in, Gary Baker from Hanging Rock Christian Camp, and he came in and he not only talked about camp, but he talked about the message that they're going to be teaching the kids this year and the importance for us to be on board with that message and to be ready because what they're talking about this year with the kids is being all in. That is the whole focus for this year's camp is being all in. And I will say it was fantastic because when talking with Gary before and after, he really dove into this idea that they're at camp not just talking to the teens and the elementary kids this year about being all in for God, but it's being all in for God at the church, being dedicated, being 100% focused on doing God's will and being a part of the church. And what he said was if we're going to talk to them about being a part of the church, then we need the church ready for them when they come home. When they come back from camp, we can't just throw cold water on them. So as he started to talk about that, it was really cool yesterday. I had people coming into the office, meeting up with me outside of the office, talking about, hey, here's some ideas. What about this? We're really excited about this. How can we do this better? And as I got to thinking about that, I sat down and just really thought, what does it mean to be all in? And what does it mean to be all in building up the younger generations? And as I got to thinking about that, of course, you have to go back to Acts 2. And this is what Gary taught on. He taught on Acts 2, 42 through 47. And this is what it says. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teachings and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. Everyone was filled with awe at the many wonders and signs performed by the apostles. All the believers were together and had everything in common. They sold property and possessions to give to anyone who needed. Every day they continued to meet together in the temple courts. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. I love this because it talks about being devoted or dedicated. There is that level of commitment, and that's what being all in is. And Gary talked about that. And I appreciate everything Gary said. And what a lot of people don't know or realize when Gary gets up and he talks about being all in for the church and they're going to send this message to the kids, Gary lives this out. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. But when I heard him talk, he really drove home at the beginning that we're devoted, committed, being all in to the apostles' teaching and to fellowship, to the breaking of bread and to prayer. And that breaking of bread isn't just to meals and eating. That breaking of bread also includes communion. And that is what we do together every Sunday. We come for teaching, for fellowship, for breaking of bread and prayer. But one of the key things that he talked about was this dedication wasn't a once a day thing. These people were dedicated to following God and hearing what he had to say and remembering what Christ did and praying to God, but they did it daily. It said that they were in the temple courts daily, meeting together, breaking bread in each other's homes with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. This is a constant thing. And that's one thing as I got to thinking about it, dedication isn't just a one-time thing. Um, Being all in means all in all the time. You've got to be ready to go nonstop for God. it's 100% in or out. And when you get into that mindset, all of a sudden you realize God says it's all in for me, it's all in for the church. And some people would say, well, we've got to be outside of the church buildings. Yes, that's the thing. When they were out, it even says they were out and about for people to see them because they had favor of all the people, and the Lord added to their number daily those who were being saved. Being all in for the church doesn't mean being at the church building 24/7, but it means being a church 24/7. And then that comes into this whole thing. And next week in our sermon um, on the 15th, we're going to look at what is the church, and we're actually this summer going to be looking at who is the first church and how are we modeled after them, or what can we do to be better modeled after the first church. But as we look a little deeper into the first church, one aspect that I think is important to see is the church is everybody. It's not just adults. And that was the one thing that Gary was really trying to drive home is the church has to be for the whole family. It's got to be from birth through adults. If you've got teens that are on fire for God, they better be active in the church. And the church needs to be coming alongside of them and helping them. Matthew 18, 1 through 5, Jesus has children that are coming to him, and he called a little child to him and placed the child among them. And he said, truly I tell you, unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever takes the lowly position of this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me. And before this, another instance had happened uh, before this time where mothers had brought their children to Jesus, and the children were starting to come to Jesus, and Jesus said, and the disciples step in and go, no, he's too busy. He's too busy for you. And Jesus says, no, let the little children come to me. Let them come. I'm here for everybody. And I think that's the key is the church is not just for adults. It's not just for men. It's not just for women. It's for men, women, adults, children. It's for everybody. And because of that, we're all supposed to be united, and we're to call to even welcome in these children, to bring them in and to train them up. But how do you do that? All right, that is the big question, because one of the things that I have dealt with before as a youth minister was asking the question, okay, I've got teens, I've got young kids in the church, but how do we get them plugged in? Because one thing you'll notice a lot in the church right now is, and I'm not talking just our church, in the church across America, we love to segregate. Put the kids over here, put the teens over here, put the adults over here. And even sometimes we go to, all right, let's put the men over here and the women over here. Let's separate everybody and let's look like the church all separate. But how can we be the church if we're not all together? I mean, that's what the first church was doing. That was their dedication, was all being together. So how do we bring in these younger people to be a part of what we're doing? And like I said, that was a lot of the questions I was getting yesterday. And some of the ideas was, hey, here's what we can do. Here's some ideas. We want to try this. We want to try that. And I'm excited because we're moving in that direction. We got a lot of cool stuff coming up. And one of them is our Wednesday night program that we're getting up and running. We've started the Sunday night. We're working on getting the ministries that we have geared towards not just doing ministry, but mentoring teens and how to do these ministries, and mentoring young adults on how to do these ministries. We're working in this direction, and it's very exciting. But again, the question comes up, how? In Titus chapter 2, this is what is being written to Titus. Verses 6-8, he says, similarly, encourage the young men to be self-controlled. In everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. Right? Here's the funny thing to me. When I read this verse, there's different parts of this verse that are often taken out of context. We love to just use the bottom part. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. Be people of integrity. But why? We often leave out the why because we're called to encourage, he says, the young men, but that's the young people in our church. We're to encourage them to be self-controlled. But if we're going to encourage them in that, we have to set them an example by doing what is good. If you're teaching, show integrity. Even in your living, show integrity and seriousness, soundness of speech that cannot be condemned. Live a life that the kids in our church see you. And here's the bigger part of this. You ready? We're supposed to be Christ inside and outside the church. That's what this all in is about. We're to be an example to our young people inside and outside of this building. We are to be living like Christ. So if they see us, they see Christ. One of the things I encourage oftentimes to adults is if you want to start building relationships with our kids and our youth, if you see them at the supermarket, don't just talk to their parents, talk to them too, because they're a part of the church. If you see people out and if you see kids walking home, talk to them. And I will say this, our church is there are a lot of people in our church that are very good at that. There's a lot of relationships being built. And I've even talked to some of our young adult guys who are the way they are now, dedicated in serving God, and our deacons because of other men in the church who came alongside of them and trained them up and invited them to come along and do stuff. I think that's the biggest part is we got to do life with each other, even with the youth and the kids. And as I get to thinking about this, I think more and more about what are applications, what are practical ways you can do this? Because a lot of times it comes to, well, let's start a program, let's do this or that. And sometimes programs are good. Like our Wednesday night thing, going to be awesome. I'm excited for it. It's going to be like VBS all summer long, all year long. It's going to be great. But is it just about Wednesday night? Our Sunday school class, amazing. Our junior church class is fantastic. But is it just about Sundays and Wednesdays? We have a lot of fun and are learning a lot in Jet Cadets on Sunday nights. But that's just 2 days a week. What else can we be doing? What can I do personally? What can you do personally? And one thing that I love to do is I love to sit back and watch people and talk to people. And one of the things I've noticed in the last year from a lot of you is you do little things. And you know what? The little things start to build relationships. And some of you do stuff that you don't want me to mention your name. So I won't mention names today. But I want to point out some examples that I've seen. One example is there's a couple in our church who does something very simple. They give the kids on Sunday morning a little baggie of cookies, something that they can eat during the service, during the worship time before they go to class, so that their stomachs aren't growling. They've got something to distract them a little bit. But they also ask the kids how they're doing. They talk to them. This is a way to have a conversation with the kids, and they get the kids coming to them. And I will tell you, when these people are gone, I know for me and my family, my daughter will ask, "Hey, where was this person at? I didn't see him today. Can we pray for them tonight?" That's one of the coolest things in the world to me is when that happens. And I will say I see a lot of the adults, and even like when we do school pickup, I go to pick up my daughter, and I see some of you at school picking up your kids or your grandkids, and you talk to me, but when my daughter comes out, your attention turns to my daughter or to the other kids in our church. Those are simple things. I know some of you write letters to kids, especially to some of the teens that you know may be struggling, and you let them know you're praying for them. Simple things that you can do to reach out. And some of you, even right now, and this was a conversation I had with someone yesterday, coming alongside people and saying, hey, I think you as a kid or you as a teen would be really good in this ministry. Do you want to come and help me in that ministry? Do you want to come alongside of me in that ministry? And they start to mentor them. And some of you invite the kids over to your house to talk, especially some of the teens as they get older, to talk, to help them out with what they've got going on in their lives. These are all things that we can all do. Writing a letter is easy. Picking up the phone, calling somebody is easy. Talking to them, inviting them over, asking them to, hey, come along and do ministry with me. I love it. We did the work day the other week. And as we were here working, we had a lot of you that were diving into these projects, but kids were coming in and wanting to help. And the easy thing to do sometimes at those work days, especially with some of these projects, go over and do this menial job. We got to get this done. We got to focus on this. But a lot of you instead said, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're working on. Here, help me out. Come in and help me. And even I know they were inside organizing one of the closets and getting that all cleaned out and actually really getting down and dirty and cleaning a lot of stuff out. And it was awesome. And there was one lady who had reached out to one of the teen boys with a couple other teens. And this one teen boy, though, was there by himself. And the other teens were related or friends and close. And she said, hey, can I call your dad and check and make sure it's okay? But do you want to stay here and help us? We're going to stay a little longer, but do you want to help us and kind of dive in more with us? These are all ways we can do this. And you know what? I see it. But what would happen if everybody in the church was doing this? And you see, these are simple things that don't take up a ton of time. And you're going, well, I've got this to do. I got that to do. A simple second to write a letter doesn't take much time. And here's the deal. Some people will say, well, we need to have a ministry to write letters to college students. No. What we need to do is, one, on my end, I need to be better at getting the addresses out for our college students. And that's something we're going to work on. I'm working on that now. But our college students, our military, we don't need a program of, we just need people to do it. If you have it on your heart, write them a letter. There's tons of them. You're praying for them. Write them and say, hey, I'm praying for you. Hey, what can I pray for you for? But get active. Be all in. Because if we're not raising them up, and I loved what Gary said, if we're not discipling our kids, who is? And the other option of that is a scary option. It's the world. Social media, it's TV, it's their friends, it's the powers of evil around us. Is that what you want? If we want to raise our kids up right, we have to be all in. And we start by being an example and by encouraging them and coming alongside of them. I hope this resonates with some of you, and maybe it's a wake-up call, maybe it's an encouragement. Maybe you're sitting there going, I've been doing some of this and I don't know if it's working. I will tell you, as a parent, my kids catch on to that stuff. Other kids in the youth group, other kids in our church, they catch on to that. They appreciate it. Keep it up. Keep doing. You're doing a great job. Don't quit being all in for God, for the church, and for the next generation in our church. Let's keep raising them up. If you're looking for opportunities to do this, one opportunity this weekend, we're going to be over at the camp for Camp Work Day. We're going to be cleaning trails. That's what our church group has lined up to do. And the teens are going, but we're asking adults to come alongside too. The more adults we have, and if you're going, well, I don't know, I've got kids. Guess what? Even the little kids can go because we're going to be clearing trails and taking sticks and stuff out of the trails and walking the trails. Your kids can take sticks. My youngest does it all the time. Just as she hits her brother with them, but she does pick up sticks. Um, we can all be doing this. This is a job that the whole church can come together and not just build relationships, but live by an example, encouraging our young people. There's other opportunities coming up too, and we will share those more and more as they come through. Again, one of them is Wednesday nights. If you have a heart for helping out, I encourage you to reach out to us. We'd love to work with you on getting plugged into our youth. And the other aspect too is this summer, Jesse does field trips. She does 2 with the middle or the elementary, and I believe 2 with the middle school, high school groups on summer trips. If you want to call Jesse up, he needs more volunteers to go on these trips to help him out. And all you got to do is sit on a bus and talk to the kids, hang out with the kids. And then when you get off the bus, go and do what they're doing, be a part of what they're doing, and just dive into their lives. It's a 1-day commitment. These are all opportunities that are coming up. If you want to know more, please reach out to me or to Jesse. And you can come to the office. You can message us through our our Facebook, our website, our YouTube, any of that. Send us a message, and we would love to get a hold of you. If you need more than that, you need prayer, please reach out because again, we're all in. I do want to say, as our focus is right now, we're saying we're all in on raising up. We're also all in on raising up people in the church. This all in aspect isn't just focused on kids. It's focused on each of us too. It's focused on everybody. So for those worried, are we going to just give up on anybody else and just focus on kids? No, that's not what this is all about. But the problem is sometimes we focus too much one way. We need to bring them into the focus and have the focus be on everybody. Hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you need prayer, we're here for you. Go and be all